In the distant past, having settled in the forest on the mountain, there lived Gumiho sisters of unparalleled beauty. Gumiho are mythical creatures, faces with 9 tails, capable of taking on a human form, absorbing the souls of men passing by the forest road. They whiled away their days, and one of those days, a beautiful girl said that she also wants to become a Gumiho, just like her sisters. Her interlocutor told her that she was still small, but she said with sparkling eyes, "But I'm already 160 years old. I'm capable, like my sister, skillfully seducing men." The 2 talking sisters were called Miran and Aran, who wanted to become a Kumiko, hoped that her sister would support her. Suddenly one sister, whose name we do not know yet, returned to them. "Did I interfere with you?" "But Miran, what is the matter with you? Why are you so depressed?" Miran told her sister that it was all because of Aran. Miran told her about Aran's desire, which was such that she wants to seduce men. Sister was delighted to hear this and said to Aran, "Well, you can't help it. Miran's sister is too protective of you because she loves you a lot, but every Gumiho must learn the art of seducing men. Our Aran has already exceeded 100 years. Aran was delighted and told her sister that she was the best. It turns out that the 3rd sister was called Juran. Juran laughingly said, "Just think, our sister Aran will start seducing men. If the divine beast from Pektu Mountain finds out, then he will probably be very upset and probably cry." Aran herself believed that Juran's sister did not know anything about him. But Juran said, "It seems that someone here does not like Mr. Tiger. While all of you have been constantly exchanging love letters since you were 100 years old. If you're going to start seducing men, maybe you should meet the sacred tiger first, Aran. He'll be a suitable match. This tiger, because he used to treat her like a child. Since then, he sent her love notes every year." Aran thought that he should not joke with foxes. "All he does is pretend to be perfect." The sisters agreed with Aran, because he really pretended to be perfect all the time. So often that his ability to pretend to be perfect has already grown to the top of Pektu Mountain. Well, how knowing this, Aran consent to this stupid tiger? Aran wanted to become just like her sisters, like Juran, a woman of incredible beauty who seduced a bunch of powerful men, thereby changing the fate of their country. And like a Miran sister who charmed all the rogues in their forest without leaving them chance to get out of there. Aran wanted to conquer all men so that they would run after her skirt like ponytails. Miran's sister wanted to convince Aran because she thought she was too young for that, but Juran told her to do what she herself wanted. Some time passed and now, Sister Juran decided to have a tea party with sweets that were handed over from His Majesty. They could only be tasted in the palace. But Miran's sister still couldn't forget Aran's desire. She jumped up and said to Juran, "Sister, how can you only think about food now? Aran is still so young. They say some bastard has appeared there trying to catch Gumiho. What if she gets hurt or something happens to her? Aran is so innocent and pure. She can decide to give her heart to the first person she meets after an intimate relationship." Sister Juran was of the opposite opinion, because it's just her Miran overprotective. It seemed to her that the Gumiho, who is already 160 years old, is already time to go hunting. And the Miran and Juran themselves at the same age began to seduce men. Sister Miran asked if Sister Juran thought that Aran was like them. Sister Juran said, "Are you saying that Aran will be with us all our lives? All babies grow up and run away from care. Someday she will need to start seducing in order to survive. However, if you continue to take care of her, then later she may not be able to cope with that. So don't worry, because I wouldn't let her go just like that." Aran, meanwhile, has already prepared for the hunt for men. She is dressed up and looks just fine. It's time for her to go out to seduce men. Aran went to the center of the city, and where the festival was held, there were a lot of people gathered there, and it seems that the Aran was the most prominent. When she got there, she was delighted, because everything happened as she thought, because this is the best place in Joseon. She believed that if you want to find bees, you need to go to crowded places, so she had to start. She tried to stick to many men, but no one around noticed her at all. It was a blow to the pride of the Gumiho for her, right up to tears. She even wanted to use the thing that she left on the reserve, but quickly changed her mind because she needed to succeed on her own. Suddenly, when she was about to move on, she heard someone laugh. It was the laugh of a handsome guy who was on the roof and was watching her. He said, Sorry. It's just very funny to watch all this from the side." This boy jumped down to her, and she was scared because of it. He came up to her and said, "So innocent. Scared a lot? If so, then forgive me." He was so handsome that as he approached, he embarrassed the Uranus by his mere presence. She warily asked, "Secretly harass women, hiding from high-ranking gentlemen?" But he did nothing of the kind. He just sat on the roof of the building and watched the stars when suddenly he heard screams of curse from the mistress. He said, "Of course, I apologize for playing a prank on you. Forgive me." Aran answered him, "Well, the uninvited guest that disturbed your peace was me. It's already late, so rest." She interested him, so he went after her and wanted to get to know her. It turns out this handsome man was called John. He wanted to know her name, but she refused him, saying that she didn't see any point in revealing her name to him and wished him happy stay. Aran thought he looked a lot like someone, but she didn't pay much attention to it. And so the Arans almost succeeded in seducing one rich man. He got very drunk, and then she said, "Would you like to go into an empty room? I really want to know more about this place. Maybe you can satisfy my curiosity in private." But they were prevented by the same handsome man, John. He threw acorns at this man. He went down to them and said, "Forgive me for my faux pas. I climbed up on the oak tree to relax and rest. It looks like you were talking to each other about something personal. Wanted to quietly hide in this place, but made such a mistake." By mistake, he meant that he revealed himself. The man was frightened that he recognized him. And then the John continued to say, "The more important thing now is that you seem to be Mr. Dan Wagwan." Learning about it, Dan Wagwan realized that it was time for him to leave, because if his wife found out about this, she would immediately turn him into an undead. He turned around and left, but John's act made Aran very angry. She yelled at him and said, "Who are you? Why are you interfering in my affairs? They just mocked me. And now they also decided to follow and interfere with my plans. I didn't give you a reason to behave like that." John replied to her saying that it was just a coincidence. She thought that he decided to lie to her, so he understood it said, "I really did not intend to do this, but if it makes you feel better, you can beat me until you calm down." Aran turned around and was about to leave. She, during her departure, said that he would no longer follow her. But the John was only worried about one thing. Something couldn't get out of his head, because he didn't hear talk about the arrival of a new Kinyo, Kine, a woman whose occupation is to entertain by singing, dancing, or tasting at a party or drinking bout. Zhang said, "In that case, if you don't leave this establishment, then is it possible that you are a Gumiho?" She was very alert when she heard this, but she turned to face him and smiled. "God, you said Gumiho? What does that mean? You love to joke so much." Behind her smile was her mental fear. She did not understand how he could know this, but suddenly remembered the words of her sister Jiran, who said that lately the Taoists were hiding among people, and they began to act radically. A Taoist is an adept dedicated to Taoism. She looked at him, and out of fright, decided to make the first attack, but he managed to hide behind a tree, which she hit. She grabbed his clothes and began to interrogate. How did he know this? Was he really a Taoist? He said that he was no Taoist. Then he asked her to look back. Her tail was sticking out from under her dress. She didn't even try to hide her tail. But she didn't understand, since when it sticks out like that, the John said that only a blind man would not notice her tail. She turned around in embarrassment and, about to leave, said, "Well, if you already knew, then there was no need to interfere with me." John stopped her and said, "In that case, how about me? Madam, I like you very much. I think I'll be a good partner for you." It seems John was not a bad person, but he still strongly resembled our Aran. It fell out that the John picked up. Aran was about to go home because she was very tired. It had been a pretty bad day, though, when she was about to leave. Some man grabbed her and scared her a lot. This man said, "You, I haven't seen you here before." What a sonorous voice. "Today you should have some fun with me." The man grabbed her hands, allowing himself a lot. Erin could easily destroy him with one attack, but she could not conjure her ice spikes, apparently due to the fact that she was very nervous. Then a John appeared who told this old man to take his hands off the Aran. The John also said to him, "Allow yourself to play with the mistress. For this, the hands can accidentally break." The old man began to appear and say, "Oh you, how dare you? Do you even know who I am? Just touch me. Do you know what will happen to you then?" But the John did not take his eyes off him. There was a feeling that he was ready to destroy him at the moment. The old man noticed this and was very frightened, so he stepped back and left grumbling. "Erin is fine." He said that he came to return her thing. Erin said, "They knew that I was a Gumiho. They could not help, so why?" John replied to her, saying that even though she is a Gumiho, she's still a girl. Erin was shaking so much, so John helped her up, and when she got up, he pulled her to him and hugged her. She cried in his arms, and later ended up at his house. He invited her to go to him, saying that he does not have any bad thoughts, just that she rested, and then left while he was around. Erin, being at his house, noticed that he fell asleep sitting next to her, and reached out to him. She considered him somehow strange guy, but in spite of everything, he did what he didn't want, for her sake. He was so handsome. She stretched and was about to kiss him, but suddenly noticed that a centipede had sneaked into their house. She was very scared and grabbed the John by the hair. John laughed, but it made her angry. She said, "Is it so funny that the Gumiho is afraid of the centipede?" This moment, she thought that he was lying to her, but he said that he was not at all, and that she was a wonderful Gumiho. Then she asked to prove his words and ran into him. They began to kiss. But the John said, "Mistress, I told you I wasn't going to indulge myself. But if this continues, it will be difficult for me to control myself." Erin said that he did not infuriate her. The kiss was not needed in order to watch how he restrained himself. She asked him, "Do you understand why I did this?" John stood up and threw Erin on the bed said, "If we decide to continue, I will not stop." They continued to play with each other. During the game, Erin had such strange sensations inside, as if she would melt right now. John said that everything was as it should be and asked the Erin to trust him. They continued to play. Because of such games, she was too hot. Then John said that now she would like the game even more, because it would become more pleasant. He started a new phase of the game. This phase almost drove Erin crazy because she couldn't hold back. At that moment, she thought of her sisters for a second, and then drowned in this heavenly pleasure from the game. John had a second character ready to start the next stage, so he told her, "Madam, now you have to be patient. When it hurts, grab my neck tightly." And so, a new stage began. The stage was called the pushing game. During the game, they repelled each other, and only some incomprehensible sounds of squelching with groans were heard from their room. During the game, Erin was filled with something from the inside. Apparently, it was happiness. Erin thought about her sister Miran, because she remembered what she had told her. Miran said to her sister, "Erin, this is what happens between a woman and a man, when their mind, body, and soul become one. Gumiho must know how to generate and control pleasure." But the Erin could not control it. She ate with such happiness. She thought that she would melt right now. She felt so good. She asked the John to play slower and deeper. After finishing the game, they went swimming together. The water gushed. Apparently he didn't play enough in the John and wanted to start this game again. He held on to the Erin and pulled it. He so suddenly began to do something strange with her ears that she made some sounds. John asked Mistress Erin to play this time from the top position. She remembered the training in this game and stood on top. She grabbed the gamepad and the John suddenly made some kind of sound. Then Erin thought to herself, "It turns out that men can make similar sounds too. Is it possible to stop seducing men after this? Didn't know it was so much fun." However, it's completely soon, the gamepad did not connect to the console because it was not included. Then the John asked the Aaron to relax and decided to insert it himself. The Aaron began to move at his request. It gave them both great pleasure and a full pocket of happiness. John decided to help her move around. Then happiness became even greater. Aaron did not hear anything except how the John called her mistress. They played enough again and were very tired. Then they lay down in the same bed and got ready for bed. But Aaron suddenly asked him, "You are not afraid of me at all, right?" He asked her, should he be afraid of her? Then she told him that she was still a Gumiho, and he could turn into an undead today. But he answered her saying that if she wanted to turn him into undead, it would have been long gone. He continued to say, "Besides spending the night with a woman, which I don't like, that's not the kind of person I am. That means I like you." She asked him why he liked her. At the same time, she herself sparkled with happiness and looked him straight in the eyes. The John said, "Well, sort of. It's very difficult to answer when you ask," looking straight into his eyes. "You sunk into my soul at first sight, because the lady is so sincere, courageous, and very charming. So much so that I don't care if you're a Gumiho or not." They lay for a long time, and then the John said, "We probably won't be able to sleep anymore. We need to go out for a breath of fresh air for a while." Going outside, the John also said, "Madam, you should also look at the night sky." She looked up and saw a simply amazing picture. It was just amazing. The stars were shining on this dark night, but suddenly she felt some kind of energy. But then the John called her home. She went in and they lay down together again. She did not understand whose energy she felt, but she again had this feeling. This alarmed her, so she got up, dressed, and went outside to check who it was. She said to herself, "That energy is slowly thickening and becoming denser. Apparently, these are those beings that the sisters mentioned. They told me to beware of the Taoists, because they are very annoying. Really, this is one of them." She was alert, and suddenly a magical attack with spikes flew in her direction, which scratched her a little. Some man came out from the direction of the attack. This man said, "I hid well. Insidious fox. You always skillfully hid from the chase, but this time you will overtake your transformation into the undead." Aaron got very angry and revealed her real appearance. She said, "And I kept thinking what kind of creature Moran was talking about." Sister made a fuss, saying that someone was catching Gumiho. "Was that you? One named Dance, but in fact a small fish. Can such a fish catch someone?" Aaron pretended to be bored with all this and began to yawn. The Aaron herself thought to herself, "However, it's good that his magic didn't reach home. I don't want to involve all the jhana in this." Aaron launched her attack with lightning speed and almost reached her opponent, but suddenly she was thrown back. Her opponent said, "Ha ha ha. What about him? I got this talisman from my teacher. Now it's time for you to be destroyed." Aaron said to him in response, "Do you think that if I didn't manage to use the claws, I lost? You are very mistaken. Although I am young, I can handle someone like you." Already won, but suddenly his trap net opened, which she fell into. Suddenly a John appeared, who was looking for a mistress. John asked if everything was all right with her, but she shouted at him not to come close. This stranger immediately saw the John and decided to attack him and thought that he hit him. But the John managed to catch his attack and began to say, "I see that the lady is not in place." And at that very moment he took on a new look. His hair became silvery and his eyes were yellow. He continued to say that it turned out that it was all about him. The attacker on the Iran realized who it was. The John was actually a dog from the mountain Paektu. The John grabbed the attacker and said, "Since you dared to touch the Iran, then no more nunja limbs." The John opened its claws and lifted them. John said, "Consider yourself very lucky. Don't you dare even get close to her. I think that will be enough." John went to Iran and broke the net in which she was sitting. He caught her and asked if she was all right. Aaron asked in confusion, "Are you Hosen?" He said that she was right and asked her to listen to his explanation. But she told him to put her down and slapped him in the face. She was upset and told him to get lost. missed the errands. Also, when he came, he brought them that imperial tea that was at the beginning of the series. Juran said, "Just think, the incomparable Hoshin fell under the spell of a young Gumiho. Ha ha ha. I was expecting this, but I didn't know you'd come running so soon. However, it is a pity that she is not here now." He said, "How is she not there?" Then Juran said that Aaron could not be stopped. She quickly ran away to Mount Kumgang. Juran's sister. She said that her sisters have their own houses there. Juran called Miran and asked her to bring the Hosen to their place. They set off and Juran wished them a safe journey. Miran said along the way that she would keep her word and take him there, as she had promised her sister, but she said that he was very unpleasant to her. Miran said, "Aran, our little sister, whom we raised in love. I have no desire to help in any way the one who brought my dear sister to tears. At the same time, I understand that in this the first question should be her feelings and decisions. So you have to swear to me that you will never dare to hurt Aran again. We will move on only after you promise me." This Hosen was about to say something, but we are returning to the real time. Aran lay in bed hugging a pillow, and at that time she had a John in her thoughts, which turned out to be Hosen. She was very angry at this damn tiger because he deceived her. She freaked out and shouted at home, "Deceived me. Thinks I'm a little child. Are you okay? In order?" He asks again. She threw a pillow at the door while Hosen was about to enter it. Aaron saw him, immediately wanted to attack him with her ice spikes and immediately told him to get out of there. Hosen fell to the ground and said, "Aaron, wait. Calm down, please. Let's talk a little." She was about to send him away again, but suddenly there was some voice in her head that said yes. After she heard it, she fell to the ground. Hosen tried to call her. He shouted, "Aran, Aran." But she had memories of this stupid tiger. She was small and spoke to him. "Hey, Mr. Tiger. I thought we understood each other. Do I still look like a little kid?" Hosen replied to her then, "It's good that Madam Baby has delicious candy," and stroked it, after which something happened. But at that moment she suddenly woke up on the bed covered in sweat. She woke up and Hosen reached out to her, saying, "You are still very pale. Lie down for a while." But Aaron beat off his hand and said, "Where are you pulling your hand?" Apparently, he has already forgotten that he was deceiving. Hosen didn't pay attention to it and continued to say, "I'm glad Mistress is doing well. It looks like you used all your strength and fainted for a while." Aaron asked him, "It doesn't matter. Why did you come here at all? Is it really so pleasant to mock me?" Hosen hugged Aaron to him and answered her, "My beloved went to seduce another. And how can one remain calm in such a situation?" She said, "But after all, you so recently considered me a child." Then he, all blushing, said to her, "But I'm honest. I'm very sorry that I treated you like a child. But then you were so sweet and charming that I didn't even know how to behave correctly. You didn't pay attention to me before. I understand that it's wrong to lie, but I couldn't say. Forgive me, Aran. What should I do to make you stop angry?" She smiled and said, Well, I don't know, perhaps. If you throw yourself off the cliff of the Diamond Mountain, then I'll forgive you." Hosen, full of seriousness, answered her, "Okay, since my lady wishes it." He quickly went out and slammed the door. She did not understand for a few seconds what was happening. But then, as it dawned on her, she immediately jumped up and ran after him. She ran to the cliff of the mountain and found a Hosen there, who said, "Aaron, if you can forgive me like that, then I am ready to do this as many times as you like. I'd love you, Aaron." He was about to throw himself off, but Aaron hugged him and caught him. Aaron cried and said, "Why are you constantly mocking me? If you decide to leave this way, do you really think I'll feel better right away and be happy? Look at me. Is there even a drop of happiness on my face? Such a stupid tiger. Whine." Hosen turned to her and hugged her. He said, "Forgive me, Aaron, sorry. I will never do that again. Honestly, Aaron, you are dear to me." Aaron then smiled and said, "He, and I, like you." They returned home and started kissing. The cunning tiger said that she was the most beautiful in the world. She asked why is he so sure. Then he said that now he himself will check the veracity of his words. They started playing again. Hosen inserted the usp into the port and thanked Azen for accepting his feelings. He said that he was very happy, because they can now be in front of each other in such an unfeigned form. Aran was so happy that she twitched in place. They continued their game. During the game, Aaron said, "If you want something, do it right." Then Hosen decided that he should listen to her wishes in filtering the modes. Aaron sat on the toy and enjoyed the game. The game went on for a very long time, and in the end, everything ended inside, after which they fell asleep like that. In the morning, Aaron woke up and blushed. It seems last night. There was this and this. I think by this she means yesterday's play with toys. She thought about it and did not notice how Hosen woke up. He woke up and immediately said, "Good morning. How are you feeling?" "Last night, it was wonderful. I'm so happy. By the way, Aaron, today is perfect for a walk." Aaron made a straight face and asked him, "And with whom?" Hosen said unhappily, "What do you mean?" But Aaron continued and said, "Well, however, if there are beautiful places, then you can take a walk." Hosen was delighted and took her to some place, but did not tell Aaron where he was taking her. When they reached that place, he asked the Aarons if she remembered this place. But she answered him, "It seems, no. He wanted to take me to a beautiful place, but he'd only brought me to a field of flowers." But when she saw that the Hosen had drooped a lot, she said, "I remember. Ah, I remember. Here we met for the first time. How could I forget that? This is the place where I was treated like a child." Hosen laughed and asked for forgiveness for that day again, but Aaron said that she did not act right then, so she also asked for forgiveness. They walked in this beautiful place for so long that it was already beginning to get dark. They started to look at the sky. Aaron said it was very beautiful, but Hosen told her that she was more beautiful. Then she abruptly said this, "You know how to embarrass with words. Apparently, you often did this before." Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out the rest of the videos. See you soon.